Hello everyone, it's Linda Ockwell-Jenner here again with the SBCN TV live on YouTube, and we have Steve Bentley, Northern River Financial.
In for episode 3. I'm looking forward to this tonight.
I'm looking forward to it, Steve. We can't thank you enough for being our digital sponsor this year. So what is it you're liking about live TV?
Live TV is more interactive. I find people can have a chance to actually watch us for a change instead of listening afterwards. And we're getting questions coming through from people. It's kind of interactive, so I kind of like that.
Yeah, I'm liking it too. We'd like to encourage more of you to be live and, ask the live questions. And tonight, for the people who are listening live, we have a book to give away, and it will be mailed to you free of charge. So, Steve, we did get some mailed-in questions today.
Cool.
Do you know a guy called Todd Foster?
I actually had coffee with him just the other day. Yes, I do.
Now, being a Brit, is he from Gloucester? Todd Foster from Gloucester?
I did not ask that question, to be honest with you.
So Todd's adorable, as you know. He's a mortgage advisor with Mortgage Centre in Mississauga. Got a really good question, Steve. And for you people out there, the question is, how do you strive to have a work-life balance? So I'm going to throw this question over to Steve.
I get this question a lot, and I think the thing that people need to understand is you need to find that balance, and that is different for everybody. But I think the biggest thing they got to think about is making sure when they look at their time scheduling that everything in their life, family, children, sports, physical education, they find time in their schedule, and also with the business side too. And we can talk about that, but certainly just treating everything as an element that has to come out of that weekly time allocation.
So I'm a busy lady, as you know. I've got a couple of businesses and I do a lot of other stuff. So my trick is this, and I tell everybody to do this. First of all, expect the unexpected. Because you never know what's going to happen. So in order to balance our life, we have to be organised, and I'm really organised. So I always say to people, don't just rely on your phone to be organised, but it's difficult. So for instance, my children are fully grown now. They don't need me as much as when they were, younger children. So in order to have a really balanced life, you've got to take care of your family. You've got to take care of your health. Your clients, they're very, very important. But if it was me, I would definitely choose my family over my business any day, because, that's very important to me. Exercise, I did use a really great personal trainer, one of our members, Steve, Clint, absolutely amazing. So, as you said, you like to use a canoe up north and paddle along, don't you?
Well, you could put it that way, but I think your point, though, is... I think the important point you just brought up is family. And I think and I'm a guilty party myself back in time where I didn't spend as much quality time with my family, and it goes by so quickly, right?
I know.
So family should always be the precedence as far as I'm concerned.
And basically, I guess with your job, Todd, because this is your question, being a mortgage advisor, I'm guessing you make the appointments around your your clients, your would-be clients. So maybe you could spend more time with your family during the day, or go to the gym if you've got nighttime appointments. What do you think? Is that a good idea?
Well, we're in a similar kind of industry, a different profession, but clients have to be available when family events happen, unfortunately. So in other words, weekends, sometimes, certainly evenings. So that's a hard part of being in that kind of profession, and Todd would speak to that, obviously.
But it's a great question.
It is, because it is difficult to try and balance the two.
So thanks, Todd, for that. And would you believe Todd's really been busy? We've got another question from him. So this is a good one, Steve. I'm going to read the question. I'm going to answer it first this time, because this is a little bit to do with me as well. When just starting out in your business, how did you keep pushing through the difficult times? So let me tell you, people, Motivational Steps, my main business, and the Small Business Community Network work together well now. But 18 years ago, it was just Motivational Steps. A professional speaker. I just started off speaking. Now I do a lot of other things. I remember going for an interview with a HR person, and I had a personal challenge with one of my children, and I was crying. And my ex-husband said to me, you know what, he'll be fine. Go to your interview. I got the work. It's difficult when you have difficult times, but you have to make choices. I've had to make a lot of difficult choices. If it's health related, obviously, I've got to take care of my health. difficult times, money. If you haven't got enough money for your business, well, you have to keep pushing on. I wouldn't say go and get a loan or anything like that from the business unless you really need a loan. I would say if you're going through difficult times with your business and it's to do with the fact that you haven't got enough clients and the revenue's not coming fast enough, I would then look at your plan, your overall 5-year plan and your goals, and I would start going backwards a bit and start changing my goals.
I think big part of what you just said is the plan, right? But I think one of the key things I say is, everybody looks at challenges and they naturally equate them to be failures in some cases.
No.
And they're not. They're learning points. And I think everybody needs to understand that there's other people that go through the stages in business, and reaching out to your community, reaching out to people who you know in your inner circle who can help you through challenging times. And some challenging times, people have been through them. So, obviously some of the ones that you mentioned, get in the way and we have to figure out how to get by them. But we just got to start using them as stepping stones to realize there are ways of dealing with it, and good things happen as much as bad.
I don't know if I've mentioned this before, but Jim Still, he is he's the owner and president of Danby.
Yes.
Amazing guy if you want to read his story. He said, when I was at an event a few weeks ago listening to him, he said that people will never remember your failures, they'll always remember your successes. So again, but going back to Todd and, difficult times, I know you're based in Mississauga, but you have a lot of clients locally. So if it was me, I'd just look at your client base again, look at, your family influences, and if times are difficult, just start looking at your timetable again and stuff like that, because as I say, it can be difficult. Well, it looks like we have a few people online again, but nobody's asking any questions. But that's fine. I know you're a little bit shy. So, Steve, this is a good one for you. Through your experiences, how were you able to build your business's credibility?
Through my businesses, how am I building credibility? I think you got to be yourself. You got to be honest. You got to be transparent. You got to be upfront with people, and you need to know who you are and what you're not. So I think dealing with the credibility side of it is, as they always say in business, if you promise, people will say over-deliver, at least deliver. There's so many people that don't. Communication's a big thing, right? You can shoot your credibility so quickly. If you're not replying to people when they ask you a question in a reasonable time, you're not doing the things you say you're going to do for them, right? But you've always got to be able to deal with them and do everything to your professional ability. And if you can't, be honest. I think that's the other thing too.
Transparency. Transparency. So I had no credibility when I started my business. I'd been a stay-at-home mom. Nobody knew who I was. So I got to know people locally. I helped them as much as possible. I meant what I said and, said what I meant. And I carried through like you did, Steve. I was very transparent. And I've continued to do that. I'm a woman of my word. Another way to build credibility is to actually take your networking from face-to-face online, and then you can help people online. We can't always help people face-to-face because we're busy. So by sharing, say if they're sharing content, share their content with your friends and family, your clients. Never be scared to share your clients because nobody can steal them. That will build a trust. Do some charity events, help out at charity events. Once you've got a really good online presence though, and people have seen that you've got testimonials and you're an honest, transparent person, I think that's it for your credibility. You're well set.
I think that point on testimonials is a very important one. If you can get to the point where your clients speak highly of you, that is gold. And don't be afraid to ask clients for testimonials and sort of share them with people, because that way they're getting a different perspective than just what you're telling them, right?
I think another good point for me is when people start coming to you, people in your community, and say, we want to work with you, then you know that they trust, like you, and that you're credible. And until that happens, I think it's a little bit of a case of us having to do more work to build that credibility. Having a good Google presence means people can trace back to how you first got started. You got started many years ago, Steve, in the financial business.
And I think the feedback that I get in the last number of years has been very favorable because of that online presence. And you brought up it's a good point, it's an interesting point too, where people think by going online, creating an online presence, that's all they have to do. That's not networking. That's just a point of being able to share who you are and a little about you. The networking networking doesn't happen until you actually get out and meet with these people face to face.
That's true.
And the funny thing is when you're in, I had one guy, I was at a restaurant once, and he runs up to me and he says, I saw you on Twitter. I am linked with you on Twitter. And I said, great. And then he ran off. And I said, I don't know who that was. And then I sort of figured out because he was bothering me, right? The point is, make sure you have conversations. Take a moment to chat with people. People you see, don't be afraid to go up and just say,
what was it about what is it about Twitter then that makes you so memorable?
I think it's just being out and about and being very engaged and sharing that information through my social media profile.
And I find it embarrassing when people come up to me, did you sign the autograph?
Well, we could go into that story at a local restaurant. But,
that's cool.
That was funny.
That is cool, right? Yeah. So we have another question. I've just got it via an email, so I'll read it out. What kind of payment options are there when you are taking people's money off them? For instance, we do a lot of events and we use something called Stripe, Steve, and that's very, very safe and secure. Do you know Stripe? Do you
well, the equivalent a lot of people might be familiar with as well as Square. There are differences between the two, but you have to be able to take payments in a number of different fashions these days, right? Gone is the cash society, as far as I see it.
Can I tell you something funny quickly?
Sure.
You talked about cash. So the doorbell rang, and I go rushing downstairs before I was getting ready for this, and there's a little girl guide, a little brownie, girl guide brownie, and she wants me to buy some cookies, and I go, do you take debit? And she goes, no. And her mum was there, and I go, Dave, have we got some change? So we found $5 from bits and pieces in the house. So nobody has cash anymore.
That just came across Facebook today about girl guide cookies being $5 a box, and that's a good point, right? But I think the other thing, too, is we can do a lot of things electronically now. So if it's not one of those card readers, for example, we can do a lot of online transactions. We can do email transfers. You have to be set up as many ways as you can in your particular business to be able to accept client payment, and you have to have variety and options for them.
Yeah. What I was doing then was saying, stop banging the table, Steve, because I wasn't telling you to shut up.
I talk with my hands.
We're talking code. I think you thought I was, saying hasty. We use Stripe to the Judith who asked the question. We use Stripe because they also send through. So when I'm checking what payments have come through online, basically they will send you this code which you have to type in to make sure it comes to me. So it's very secure. They do charge you a little bit of money though, but not a lot that's to make any difference. I personally don't like it when people say pay me with a check today. I don't like
how
checks.
many people have checks today, right? And there's a cost to using a check. Another one we use, for example, for accounting is a program called Wave, which is free to a lot of small business owners.
Oh, is it free?
Yeah, and they get a percentage of any payment that comes in, a very small percentage, right? So there has to be some form of remuneration. But I find it's great because there's a lot of different payment versions that are available through that particular type of accounting software.
So hi to you who are signing in live and just love watching us. It's great, isn't it, Steve? So I guess everybody wants to just email the questions, which is fine. We love it. So another question is, what do you do with your business when you're leaving town and you want a bit of a holiday? That is a good one, Steve.
Yeah, well, I tend to try and package both. Right? When I'm out of town, I'm usually up north in the Muskokas, but I also have an office up there too. But you have to be able to run your business no matter where you are, right? And so I'll take an example. One of my associates right now who's down in Arizona for a month, right?
I love that.
So we have to set up provisions to make sure that anything that comes in with respect to client issues he's working on, we've taken care of in advance so that we are able to let somebody go away and not have to worry about their business. But electronic communication makes it so easy, right? But at the same time, I think people need to understand that if you're away, make sure the proper processes are in place to take care of it. But go away and stay away instead of always reading your phone like I do or my iPad.
It's difficult because
it's hard
of emergencies.
To put it down.
It's one thing I always say is don't do what some people do. Me and leave your phone message on when you've gone back off holiday. And once it was like, oh, I haven't been able to reach you. You're away till October. And it was like March. And so that was the October previous. So basically, make sure you've got everything in place, like Steve said, and try and switch off. But if you've got to have emergencies, you've got to have emergencies. We have another question here. Why would you suggest a middle-aged individual should pursue a life involved in small business? I would suggest that a middle-aged person shouldn't pursue a life involved in small business. I would suggest that they go on a lifelong holiday. No.
Hey, you know what? I was there.
Age is just a number. So I guess what we're talking about here, it's another one from Todd. I guess what we're talking about, maybe somebody's been laid off from work.
Big problem.
Big problem today.
And I can speak as somebody 55 years of age, 2 years ago, who went into a boardroom one day, didn't anticipate it, and they were let go. Somebody younger and less expensive came in. So you're in a status of life saying, what do I do now, right? One of the aspects is starting a small business, but it's hard for people to really grasp that, and they don't necessarily do the proper homework because they think they'll go out, they'll start a business, and it'll be overly successful right away, but it won't. It takes time. So I think it's important to understand that it's not only a bad thing to just do it when prepared, but also realize you could have a very...
Steve, Victoria. Hi, Victoria. Good to see you. Do you want to read out her question?
How do you recommend to best link your social media profiles so they are all consistent with your brand? Example, YouTube, Facebook, Twitter. It is very lengthy to post on all avenues. And she says, do you have any third avenues that you use to post platforms? Well, I know that you've got your structure. I've got my structure.
What do you do, Steve?
We have a very regimented process by posting content to our different social media sites. And one of the platforms we use is Hootsuite. Yeah. So we can pre-schedule things being posted and we can time when they're being seen. So I think it's important to try and coordinate having all your content coming through one source. Because if you're going to each one, it's time consuming, but you also have to have a strategy by what do you post where. Yeah. Not everything's effective on all the social media sites.
The only advice I give you, my angel, well, not the only advice, but I could go on forever on this topic, is basically wherever you're posting on the different platforms, try and figure it around your audience, because there's definitely a different audience on Twitter, Instagram, Pinterest, LinkedIn, Facebook. So basically, I know a lot of people do put the same information everywhere, and to be honest, I personally think that's a mistake. What do you think?
Well, it's repetitive, first of all, because a lot of people are engaged in a lot of the different social media platforms or follow you in that respect too. But like LinkedIn, take it business to business. Twitter is more conversational. Facebook can be a little more social. So it's important to really understand what the medium is and what's the best content.
What was the rest of the question? Did we cover it all?
Yes.
Yeah. So I hope that's a good answer for you. As I say, I would basically look at what you're posting and the reaction to your posts, or your content, whatever it is you're doing, and see what the comments are, see how many views you're getting, see how many likes you're getting, see who's sharing it, and that gives you another idea, doesn't it?
Well, I think that's the other aspect of using a platform, and there's a number of out there. Hootsuite's just an example, but they allow you to look at those metrics and see what effect you're having in terms of what you're posting into the different sites you're on.
Well, we are so pleased that you asked a live question, Victoria. Really, really grateful, because we're quite new at this, aren't we, Steve? And it's really exciting.
Third episode in. We're getting in.
Well, this live thing, when I was researching it, I've been told that basically people are slow to come and chat with you, and we didn't want to be lonely, did we?
No.
So thank you, Victoria. And you actually will be winning the prize tonight, even though we're not winding up yet. We haven't finished yet, but you were the first person live, so I'd like to show you that you are going to win this lovely book.
And I can speak personally, that book will help with the question she actually asked.
Thank you. So. I really appreciate that. So, Steve, I'm just so excited we got a live person.
Well, we've had them, but it's just nice to sort of...
We've got live people who are shy and don't ask any questions. So,
well, what we find is a lot of people ask questions before.
Yeah, they like to send
during the week.
They like to
don't
send
necessarily
in,
want to be on live.
Yeah, they like to send in the emails. Yeah. So, I think I interrupted you with that other question.
Well,
I was so
it's
excited.
important. I'm just going to say, in my own situation, it was a very difficult decision. We have a family business side, but to actually go where I was in tax consulting and move into a financial advisory role, it was some very serious decision making. And I think people need to be very careful and looking at the family, looking at the effect on the family, looking at the finances, looking at how they're going to be able to pay their bills. And I think that's a big challenge when people are in a position to leave. So I think, for all intents and purposes, it's important that people really give it some serious thought. But I don't discourage people who are middle-aged and getting into business.
Actually, I don't discourage anyone, whether it's students, high school students, college students, university students. What age was Kentucky Fried Chicken guy when he's... Come on, do you know that?
I'm going to say in the 50s, in his 50s.
Yeah.
I don't know the actual
There are
age.
so many people who decide for whatever reason, as you all know, if you don't, I'll bore you again and tell you, I was a stay-at-home mom all my life, and then, things happened to me, divorce and everything. I was working 3 crappy jobs, and if that's not enough to start my own business, had double mastectomy. So I thought to myself, why don't I become a motivational speaker? So I started my business, and we all have a reason.
To tie into Todd's question a little bit too, I think people who are, if you want, middle-aged, I don't really want to put a number on it, but they've got a lot of experience behind them. They may have been in different businesses in different capacities, so they've got a lot of skills to bring to it, right? And I think it may be an easier transition for some of them. But I just think that just very cautious people looking at it, and it's a very serious decision.
I tell you what, I was talking about SBCN Coffee Connect the other day, Steve. We were talking about millennials, and my daughter in particular does not like to be called a millennial because she's not a normal millennial.
Right.
And I just did this is a topic I'm doing a presentation for in a few weeks. So basically, millennials are different when they start a business, when they work with a large corporation. They are different to the age group that maybe is older than them. But what I say is the culture shouldn't change for the millennials per se. The millennials shouldn't change for the culture. So I think that's when they should all come together and say, well, yeah, we use our phones and screens more than the other guys, and we've just got a different way of working.
Well, I think there's got to be a compromise, right? I don't like the term labeling people as this category or millennials or whatever, right? But they've got to understand there's different ways of approaching things, and the new way we do business today with a lot of electronic-based tools, you need to incorporate that. That's where everything's going. So,
I mean, I've always got this in my hand, but I can operate without the phone. So again, this could be a problem with somebody who's a certain age, and Todd used the word middle-aged, fitting in maybe with a younger set of people. But the thing is, the skill set that a person has got halfway through their life versus coming straight out of university is a really different skill set.
Well, I was actually talking to Todd the other day about that, and he realized that he had to wait a few years. And to him, actually, 3 years was what it was. But he sort of made that transition, and it took 3 years for his business to really get grounded, and actually he was doing very well this year.
And that's quick. 3 years.
Perseverance is so important.
3 years is really good, especially in that industry, because look at the competition there. Todd also has a small child, which again, back to balancing how to run a business with a small child, especially if your wife works. That's another good question. Is it who stays home when the child's sick? Yeah, we've all been through that.
You said earlier about making sure you plan for those unexpected things. Well, that kind of thing comes up, right? Illness, an accident, whatever. You've got to have, contingencies for what do you do if. A lot of people don't think about it.
So, Steve, we're going to turn it over to you now because, as I say, you're not just my co-host everywhere that we look. It's our faces together everywhere. We're just amazing.
Yeah, the screen at the Rangers game. Yeah.
I actually love that. I'll never get used to this fame, Steve.
I remember when I first got somebody sent me some communication saying, and they sent a picture, and we're on the screen. I'm thinking, oh my gosh, 7,000 people are with us in the hockey arena.
But getting back to just you, because I'm famous enough already. So you're our sponsor. We thank you a lot for that. So you give a lot to the local community, I know, but you also do a lot in the Muskoka area, don't you?
Yes.
So what is it about Muskoka that you're there a lot and that you want to give back a lot to that community?
Well, our family business is established there, number one. Number two, we've got a cottage up there. Number three, I've been in the environment up there since I was knee-high to a grasshopper, right? So we have a lot of friends, a lot of business acquaintances up there. For us, it was just a natural place to actually have an office. The second thing, though, is looking forward and saying at some time I'm going to slow down and maybe semi-retire. I don't know if I'm going to retire.
Yeah.
I'll have an established business presence up there.
Yeah. So how do you give back? I mean, what do you actually do? You get involved with the charity events there, that kind of thing?
Yeah, we have the same philosophies we have up there as we do here, and I think everybody has to have select charities that they feel fondly of, right? For me, Habitat is one of the ones I feel strongly in because of the family background. But you can't do everything for everybody, so you got to find the ones where you can be most effective, right? Locally, 100 Men is one that is very impactful because we make a large sum donation to a charity, which it's so hard for charities nowadays to get any kind of real funding, the small charities. So we selectively choose charities and then we give up. We participate. We get involved in the social activities. We promote their activities. We get involved in fundraising. Wow. So it's just our way. But I'm going to say this one thing too. From a business perspective, as you said earlier, one of the things, credibility, sure, but the other thing too is it's amazing how many people you will run into or who will talk to you because you have that interrelationship.
I definitely agree.
So it's another way of gaining potential.
You've been one of the longest members of the Small Business Creators Network. I think you're the second longest.
I am the second.
Yeah. So tell me truthfully, let's push the SBCN a bit. What is it you like about the SBCN? Tell the truth.
I've said it all along. There's a lot of different networking groups out there. As a matter of fact, I was writing an article today on networking, which will come out at some point in the future. But for me, it's a grassroots organization. It's more about camaraderie. It's more about relationships and more about being friends and getting to know people as opposed to going to a networking group where you meet once a week, once a month. And it's just more of an exchange of leads as opposed to really getting to know people. Because if you're going to get somebody to do something for your client, what better than to bring somebody in who you know well, as opposed to just somebody you see on an occasion.
And a lot of our members are working together. A lot of referrals are passing through our members, which is lovely. The trust is there. And Victoria, who just asked a question, she's absolutely adorable. I love her to bits. One of our newest members, so we're going to be helping Victoria if she wants our help. But what I'm going to say is I was really excited tonight because, yes, we had some questions off some different people emails tonight. We had Victoria asking a really lovely question. And I think we focused very much on the credibility, which is really good. How to balance your lifestyle, especially if you've got children. Age is an issue in business. I don't believe so. And on the credibility, age. I was starting out and keeping up with the difficult times. That's tough. I know it is. There was a time when I went really to the top with motivational steps in the first year, because some clients referred to me, and then it was like, oh, I'm sitting waiting for clients now. So I think a soft, rise to the top is better than a big,
Right, and it's how to deal with it, right? I mean, in a lot of cases, business, you could be really getting a lot of activity, a lot of clients, and all of a sudden things turn off. Yeah. And then you're sort of worried, what happened?
Yeah,
you just got to take the ups and the downs with business.
But I'm loving doing this live TV. I think it's amazing that we can reach out to more people, and I will definitely mail this to Victoria because she's been absolutely adorable. So I think we've got to let you get on with your busy night, Steve, and I'm actually going to a networking event after this. I'm going to catch the tail end of a networking event.
I was hoping to get to that one, but I'm not in this.
Maybe another time.
We will.
Yes. So thank you again, everybody, for tuning in. It's been fantastic, and we'll see you again in a couple of weeks. Do you know the date, Steve? You normally know it.
It's in my phone, right?
Right, let me look at my phone.
I got lots of dates in there.
Let's see who can get to it first. I believe it's the 9th of April. Yeah, We'd love to see you all then. Have a wonderful night, and SBCN TV with my fantastic co-host sponsor, Steve Bentley, Northern River Financial, and myself will be back then.
We'll
Have a wonderful evening.
Great.